He walked again. Here's a manifestation story about Elise's father recovering from a stroke using the law of assumption and revision, told with a touch of warmth, subtle magic, and quiet power, just like something you'd feel in a deep inner transformation. The moment the stroke hit, the world seemed to split in two, before and after. Before, Elise's father had been a force of nature. Loud, warm, always tinkering with something in the garage or telling terrible jokes over breakfast. The kind of man whose presence filled a room like sunlight through a window. After, he lay in a hospital bed, half of his face slack, words tangled in his throat, his once strong hands now limp on stiff, white sheets. Elisa sat beside him every day, her heart heavy and her chest tight. Doctors filtered in and out, murmuring timelines and possibilities, some hopeful, most vague. It's hard to say, they repeated like a mantra. It depends on how his brain responds. But Elisa wasn't waiting on their version of reality. She had quietly chosen a different path. She didn't tell the doctors. She didn't even tell her mother. But every night, before sleep took her, she closed her eyes and assumed. She saw her father in their kitchen again, standing at the stove, humming as he cooked eggs. She heard his voice, clear and deep, asking, "Want tea or coffee today, princess?" Sometimes she imagined helping him up the porch steps, laughing as he teased her about growing taller than him.
She hadn't.
But he liked to pretend. She would climb into bed and let that scene soak into her, not as fantasy, but as truth. Not something to wish for, but something that had already happened in the world that truly mattered. The world within. But not every night was easy. Some nights she crumbled. The fear clawed at her. What if this is permanent? What if he never comes back? That's when she turned to revision. Lying still, hands pressed over her chest, she went back in memory. Back to the morning of the stroke. She saw him waking up with a yawn, stretching, joking about the weather. She imagined hearing him say, "I feel better than ever." She rewrote it, as if it had never happened. As if the stroke had passed them by like a storm that changed its mind at the last second. Then she slept, not in grief, but in peace. 2 weeks passed. One morning she noticed something. His fingers twitched. Not just a spasm, but a deliberate, shaky movement, trying to close into a fist. She rushed to the nurse, barely daring to hope.
"It's a good sign," they said.
Could be the beginning of motor recovery. She didn't tell them that in her world, he had already lifted a coffee cup, already played the piano again, already hugged her with both arms. The recovery was slow, but it was steady. A month later, his voice returned in patches. The first word he said clearly was her name, Elisa. She had to step out into the hallway and let herself cry. Not from pain, but from knowing. She remembered the night she had fallen asleep with that very moment in her imagination, him saying her name with love and clarity. Now here it was. Physical reality catching up to her assumption. And then one golden afternoon in spring it happened.
He stood.
Wobbly, yes, but upright. She watched from across the physical therapy room, hands covering her mouth, tears burning behind her eyes. He looked at her with eyes wide, like a child who just discovered magic. "You did it," she whispered. "I knew you would." He took one trembling step, then another. The therapists clapped, amazed. Her mother gasped and called out to him. But Elisa just stood still, a soft smile on her lips. This scene? This wasn't new. She'd been here before, 100 times in her mind. Later that week, they sat on the porch at home, the sky blushing with sunset. He held a mug of tea in his left hand, the one that had taken the longest to recover. He turned to her and said quietly, "You believed in me the whole time, didn't you?" She looked at him, at the man who had journeyed from stillness to motion, from silence to speech, all while the world doubted. "I saw you walking long before you did," she said. He nodded, eyes glassy. "You dreamed me better." She smiled. "No, Dad. I remembered you whole." In the silence that followed, only the wind spoke. But inside that silence, a truth hung golden and sacred. The unseen shapes the seen. Assumption carves reality. And love, quiet, unshakable love, rewrites destiny. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.